Hello and welcome to Friday. And so this week we've looked at Genesis 14, 18, and 19. This is where Melchizedek comes out to meet Abraham, returning from the battle with the kings. And on Monday we looked at these verses in terms of the letters and vowels. And then on Wednesday I did a little bit of a podcast on the understanding of God before he revealed himself as Yahweh. And so now it's Friday, and I want to look at the grammar of these two verses. So let's go ahead and begin. So these are all the verses. We went over their letters on Monday. Now let's look at the first line. What I've done here is this is the same, but I have separated the morphemes, not the morpheme, but the morphemes, the little meaning bits apart. So this vav on the front, the sharuk, is the word and. And the reason why it went sharuk on us is because the next letter begins with a mem. And before the bump letters, a vav becomes a sharuk. And so that's why it's ooh, and it means and. So I've broken it apart down here. Melchizedek. Hebrew names often had a meaning to them. They were often symbolic, and different languages do this more than others. So my name is Kenneth, and someone told me at one point that word is of Scottish origin and that it means handsome. And I'm willing to own that if that's really what it means. But to be honest, I wouldn't have ever thought of my name meaning something. My culture doesn't necessarily do that. But Hebrew, and I'm not sure that Greek culture did that very much, but Hebrew seems to have done it. And so Melchizedek meant something, I think, for Melchizedek. And what it means is, so I've broken it apart a little bit here. Zedek means righteous. And so Melech means king. We see it right here, Melech. MLK. Martin Luther King is the king. He really is. MLK, Melech. So anyway, so the Hirik Yod on the end is my. So my king. My king is, you can often stick is into Hebrew, where there isn't an is there. My king is righteous, is what Melchizedek means. And of course, what a great name for a priest, right? Because the priest can say, my king, my heavenly king is righteous. El Elyon, the highest king, the king of kings, indeed. And so that's what Melchizedek means. And we talked a little bit, I think, on Monday that I mixed the Hebrews messing me up. Hebrews doesn't go with my king is righteous, but king of righteousness. So yeah, that's how Hebrews 7 interprets Melchizedek. And of course, the king of righteousness, Jesus is a king of righteousness, so that works. Sorry, I'm getting old. It's really horrible. Okay, so Melchizedek, my king is righteous. That is Melchizedek, the king of Shalem, which of course are the same consonants as peace. And Philo and Hebrews understand this to be an allegory, king of peace. Melchizedek is a king of peace. And of course, Jesus is the Prince of Peace. But Melech here is what we would say it's in construct. Probably, and if it was there, I've not carried it over. I'm guessing there might have been some kind of an accent going like this under it. I can pause through the miracle of recording and come back to you. Boink, I'm back. Yes, I'm right. Man, I'm good. I'm not. No, I'm not. But yes, under Melech in the Hebrew, at least in the Masoretic text, there's a line that's like a backward-faced capital L going like da, called a munach. It's an accent, and what it's basically hinting at is that Melech, see the word that comes after, and what you do in Hebrew when something's in the construct is you put an of after it. This is very confusing to Greek students because in Greek, when something's in the genitive case, you put an of in front of it. But in Hebrew, if something's construct, you put an of after it. And so this is king of Salem, which is probably Jerusalem, or at least that's the scuttlebutt. There's nothing about this form that tells you it's construct, by the way. This segol kind of pattern, we call these kinds of nouns segolets. There's nothing about this to tell you it's construct. It would look exactly the same if it wasn't, but there's a little hint in the accent saying, look next to me. And so this is king of Salem. The of comes from the fact that this is understood as a construct word. Okay, so, and Melchizedek, the king of Salem. Now, here we have this here. This is from Yatzah. So the fundamental three letters are a yod, a tzadeh, and an aleph. But when you put performatives on a first yod verb, a lot of times the yod becomes a holem. And so there's a hey on the front. What the hey? Well, the hey is probably it's the H stem, the hifil stem. And what it's doing is it's making this causative. So if yatzah means to go out, then the hotzi means to cause to go out. So, and Melchizedek, the king of Salem, he caused to go out, or he took out to Abraham, lechem vayayin. He took out bread. Sounds like I love bread. It's lechem. I had some, well, okay, never mind. So he caused bread and wine to go out to Abraham. So this is a hifil. It's causative. The Hirik yod is the telltale sign of a hifil, and the H on the front, the hey on the front is, again, telltale sign of a hifil. And the fundamental word is yatzah. Okay, we've made it through the first verse. And now let's move on to, actually, we're still in the first verse. So vahu, so the va is and, who, and I told you on Monday that Hebrew is a language where who is he, and he is she, and me is who, and dog is fish. Anyway, so this is who, and it means he. And he, that is Melchizedek, he priest, he Kohen, he, and we got to stick some kind of to be verb in there. He was priest. He was a priest. Again, we could take the lamed apart off of El, which means God. Priest, this means to God, Elyon, to God Most High. Okay, so Melchizedek is priest of God Most High. See the podcast, or listen to the podcast from Wednesday. Okay, let's keep going. This is, I think, the second verse, verse 19. And so I've broken it apart down here. So this is the verse in its normal form, and then I've broken apart some of the morphemes. So, for example, to God Most High, I've broken the lamed off. To La'el Elyon. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So the vav here is the word and. When you see vav on the front of a word, it is almost always going to be the word and. There are a few exceptions, but in the overwhelming majority of cases in the Old Testament, if you see a vav on the front of a word, it's and. Of course, it may not translate as and. It could translate but or now or something else. But let's go with and to start off with. And now this is one that really breaks apart. So the core word beit resh barak means bless, to bless. So anybody named Barak has the name of basically bless, to bless. Baruch is similar. So here's Baruch means blessed, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So and now the yod, so this is imperfect, at least the form is. Yod, the imperfect tense puts letters on the front. The perfect tense puts letters on the end. So this is a third person singular letter to put on the front. So it basically means he blessed, and he blessed. He blessed who? He blessed him. So who is a suffix that you can put on a verb that means him. So this altogether means, and he blessed him. That is, Melchizedek blessed Abraham. Vayomar, and, so again, we can break it apart, and he said, so, and he blessed him, and he said, So now we have a quote coming up. So this is, again, this is called a converted imperfect. A converted imperfect because we have vav, patak, doubling. And so vav, patak, doubling is a sign of a converted imperfect. A converted imperfect is a past tense, a genuine past tense historically. So I'm going to translate this as, and he blessed him. And this is genuinely, and he said. He said, Baruch. Now, Baruch, this sharuk here, after the second consonant, suggests to me that this is a passive. We call it a call passive or a G Grundstamm passive. It's the basic stem, BRK. But with the sharuk after the second consonants, I'm going to go with blessed. So it's not to bless, it's to be blessed. So, and he blessed, and he said, blessed art thou, blessed, Baruch, blessed are you, Abraham. Or let's say, blessed is Abram. Blessed is Abram. This is Abram. He's not yet named Abraham. So blessed is Abraham to God Most High. Now, a lot of translations would say by God Most High. I can make sense of it by saying, blessed are you in El Elyon's book. To El Elyon, you're mighty nifty, Abram. So blessed are you by or to El Elyon. And who is this El Elyon? He is Kone, the one possessing. This is the way you make a participle, an ing word in Hebrew, a call participle, a G participle. Put a holum after the first consonant and a sari usually after the second. So the one possessing, I think it's possess, the one possessing Shemayim va'aretz, the one possessing heavens or the skies and the land. And of course, the vav here is an and this is a dual, I think I told you last week. So I don't know, they must have thought of the skies as being in two parts. But anyway, Shemayim va'aretz. And there you have it. That is Genesis 14, verses 18 and 19. And if you stick with this, some of it, it'll stick little by little. It may not stick the first time. If you feel like, man, I have no idea what that guy's talking about, that's okay. If you keep listening, by the time we're done with this, you'll know an awful lot. And so this has been Genesis 14, verses 18 and 19.